Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt your regularly scheduled programming to bring you this special bulletin. I watched Superman movie, Superman's James Gunn's Superman, whatever you want to call it. And surprisingly enough, I enjoyed it. The movie has its flaws, of course. I had some problems with some of the scenes, some absolutely ridiculous scenes. I can agree with a few people that the pacing is really up there, but with my autism brain, I had no problem keeping up with it. But there were some unfortunate scenes that did not have the opportunity to breathe, as the saying goes. These parts did not ruin the experience, did not ruin the movie for me, but there's a few sentiments going around from channels that I follow, well, one could say religiously, that I vehemently disagree with. That's why I continue to follow these channels, and I recommend others doing that as well. Find those channels that you don't always agree with at all times, whether it's on TV shows, movies, or video games. Because if you rely on one channel, or if you rely on only the channels you agree with, and all of a sudden, they disagree with me, you clutch your pearls, you scream, and you stop following them, well, that's kind of foolish. Where's the fun in always agreeing with people? Find a few people out there that you like, that you have the same interests in. You should not believe you're going to agree with them all the time. And well, that's the case right here because man, oh man, there's going to be some spoilers here because I'm just going to explain it how I personally see it. Old D-Day Cobra over here, and he's not the only one talking about this, but hey, that's the tweet that came up that I saw that, I'm going to use Jeremy as I guess that's the poster child for my discussion. Clark Kent cries. Everybody cries. All the men cry in this movie. Well, if you just listen to that, it's a pretty shitty movie and pretty terrible movie, but there's context. I was telling my dad afterwards that a good bit of the TV clips that I watched and I judged on face value were absolutely horrible. Over and over, these TV clips came out and they made me not want to watch the movie, but then I watched the movie hoping and praying for some context. And for most of them, not all of them, believe me, for most of them, context was applied. And I went, oh, okay, makes sense. Some of them, context made the scene better. Some did not help it at all. Some better than others. But let's see what Jeremy has to say. Clark cries. The scene I remember of Clark crying, there's a couple of them, I think. Maybe he's talking about Clark getting frustrated with the interview with Lois Lane. That is one of the TV clips. Now, that clip was put into context. Why would Lois talk to him like this? Well, it wasn't Lois and Clark. It wasn't Lois' girlfriend talking to Superman. It was Lois Lane, star reporter, acting like a reporter, doing her job, interviewing Superman. And of course, Superman, and this is one of the things that kind of bothered me a little bit about the movie, is that Superman getting overly frustrated a few times in the movie. I still didn't really care for that, but I do not feel like it took away from the movie, especially the way the movie ended. Lex cries. Oh, no, Clark and Superman cries. I think there's one part where Superman cries because of a situation that happens. Again, spoilers, ladies and gentlemen. Lex Luthor shoots a guy. And Superman cries. Yeah, I can't imagine why Superman would cry when an innocent human being, a species he believes at that time, he believes firmly that he was sent there to protect, to save. And that's all his goal. And that's part of the reason why Superman gets frustrated in the interview with Lois, because he is hell-bent on saving humanity, doing everything he can. And that's why he makes some of the decisions he makes. But Superman cries because an innocent human being was murdered in front of him simply because Lex Luthor wanted information from him. And there was nothing he could do about it. Can't imagine why Superman would cry on that scene. Lex cries. Lex cries. The only time I remember Lex Luthor crying, it was when he screamed in frustration because all of his plans were laid bare, unsuccessful. No matter what he did, he still failed at the end. I wouldn't call that crying. That's screaming in anger and frustration. A little bit of context. Pa Kent cries when his beaten, battered, and broken son, who he raised from an infant, is brought in, and he's concerned about his well-being, hit with a bit of emotion. I don't know if anybody's got children out there, but maybe sometimes you get hit in a vulnerable spot when you're concerned about the well-being of your child. Ma Kent makes fun of Pa Kent for crying twice. Twice? I remember once her just making it so, oh, he's just a mush. Saying that Pa Kent, no matter what can be said about his strong exterior, which unfortunately wasn't really shown. So maybe that was a saying they pulled out. I heard they pulled out 20 minutes of the movie to make it shorter. Did it make it better? Did it make it worse? But a man's wife poking fun about having a soft side didn't really bother me. But hey, maybe I'm just the weirdo. Random homosexual man. I know what guy Jeremy's talking about. This cries and hyperventilates while Lois commands the moment, saves everyone. Lois Lane, star reporter, it's pretty on par for her character, but calling this one dude the gay, I didn't see any indication of him. Freaking out spaz, yes, but call him what you want. There is no scene in the movie where Superman doesn't need assistance from someone else. Now, this is the main. Well, we're going to take this last one before I tackle this. Superman needs help. There's no scene in the movie where Superman saves Lois. That is a fact. It's an unfortunate fact. I'm sure a lot of people would have preferred or enjoyed seeing Superman coming save the day, saving his girlfriend. But, well, hey, does that make the movie feminist or what? No, don't use those terms here, please. Don't do that. But let's tackle this one. There's no scene in the movie where Superman doesn't need assistance from someone else. He literally never controls any situation. So that second sentence is objectively false. And I'll go through it. Movie opens up with Superman losing a fight for the first time. Okay. Now, again, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to get into spoiler territory. Of course, there is a reason why Superman gets his ass handed to him. The situation is some meta-human from another country is the one that comes to Metropolis and beats up Superman. Well, that's not entirely correct. It's actually Ultraman in a suit. Now, who is Ultraman? Spoiler warning, ladies and gentlemen. Spoiler warning. This is how frustrated I am. I'm not waiting till my live stream. It's Ultraman, who is a clone of Superman. Clone has all the strengths, and he's dumb as a box of rocks. He also has Lex Luthor watching from easily 15 different cameras, feeding Ultraman moves, because apparently it looks like Ultraman was either trained or programmed to respond to letters and numbers, A15, B8, B8, A5, all these things. Imagine Superman fighting against himself with Lex Luthor, who, the movie states, has been studying Superman's moves since their introduction. I can't imagine why Superman would get beaten up in that situation. That's me being sarcastic. If there's any situation where Superman would come out on the losing end, well, that's going to be it. Superman is not respected by Lex Luthor. Really? Do we need to go there? There's absolutely no reason why Lex Luthor would respect Superman. Guy Gardner doesn't respect Superman. Well, it's my understanding that Guy Gardner is a jackass in the comics. He's a snarky, smart-ass little jackass and isn't afraid of Superman. Makes jokes at his expense, pops off in Superman's face. Again, seems like it's pretty on par with Guy Gardner's character. That's the Green Lantern, Nathan Fillion's character. Needs assistance from someone else. Yes. Now, another scene further into the movie where Superman falls into some extra-dimensional river and is unable to escape. I don't understand why he's not able to fly out, but he says he's unable to fly out. Needs assistance there because he's trying to save Metamorpho's baby. All the men cry in this movie. I don't know the scene where Metamorpho cries because he comes to the realization when Lex Luthor kills the man in front of him that, there's a real good chance that Lex Luthor doesn't really keep his word and will have no problem killing Metamorpho's son right in front of him if Metamorpho just says the wrong thing or does anything by accident, which is at that point that Metamorpho makes the decision to help Superman. Metamorpho is the one that can change his body into any mineral or material and changes it to kryptonite, which weakens Superman. Can't imagine why Superman would need help when suffering from kryptonite poisoning. Now, this last one never controls any situation on his own. Now, I don't know what movie everyone else watched, but the movie I watched, Superman got beaten up quite a few times by himself and Lex Luthor's help. Towards the end of the movie, the scene that everyone sees with Superman fighting the Engineer and Ultraman in the stadium, getting Metropolis evacuated in 5 minutes is a whole different discussion that, yes, it's dumb. A lot of things I agree with. This isn't one of them. Controls any situation. Back to what I was talking about. So, Superman is going up against the Engineer, the chick that is control of the nanites with her body. And Ultraman, remind you, clone of him with the cameras going all the way around him. And, oh no, they managed to, weaken him again. 2 against 1 plus Lex Luthor. And yet, somehow, even though Superman never controls any situation on his own, manages to outsmart all of them, flies up into the air, and no matter what the Engineer and Ultraman tries, he continues flying. They cannot stop him. I was pleasantly impressed that Superman used his smarts to win that battle, to gain the advantage. Flies up into the atmosphere. They cocoon him. It's the Engineer. Covers him up completely to try and suffocate him. But then at a zenith, way up into the atmosphere, he just stops and turns and plummets all the way to the ground. And there's nothing they can do about it. Crashes into the earth, incapacitates the Engineer, and then the fight is on with Ultraman. That's when you find out Ultraman is a clone of Superman. They fight back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, whether you like it or not. And just like the other interactions, the other confrontations between Ultraman and Superman, Ultraman is gaining the advantage because Lex is helping. Cheating, you might say. Again, I can't imagine why Superman would be put on his back foot. Fighting himself plus Lex Luthor? Context is so very important when you're making these statements. And unfortunately, maybe it's the limitations of Twitter or just you don't feel like talking about it or seeing it. I don't want to assume that individuals are going into this movie wanting to hate it. You be the judge for yourself. But to finish off, Superman figures out what's going on, what the cameras are, what and how Lex Luthor is getting the advantage. So in comes Crypto, who whistles for Crypto. Crypto, play with the toy. Crypto proceeds to destroy all the cameras, losing Lex Luthor's advantage. And then, Superman proceeds to beat the absolute dog snot water out of Ultraman, sending him into a black hole. Some people got problems with that, but hey, it is what it is. He wins the day. He controls the situation. He goes and stops Lex Luthor from destroying the city. But, what's his name? Mr. Terrific, who was absolutely fantastic in this movie. I guess I should have said Mr. Terrific was terrific in this movie. No denying that. Comes in, the computer guy, the hacker, the guy that knows his way around all this stuff, comes in and saves the day, stops the dimensional portal. Superman stops Lex Luthor from getting away. This idea that he never has control of the situation is objectively false. You may not like how the control of the situation that's up to you. It's up to you to make the decision. I think everyone should watch this movie if you're a little Superman fan. This is definitely a James Gunn movie. There are definitely parts of it that I rolled my eyes, specifically the end of the movie with Supergirl. Good Lord, what was the necessity of that scene? And what are they going to do with her character? If you made it this far, I do appreciate it. I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of comments. Something else. Angry Badger, I have some opinions on his opinion, but hey, I'm going to finish the video off like this. I prefer these arguments versus the ones we've been having with mainstream entertainment. We're arguing about the depiction of Superman, how he's talking, how he's behaving, the suit, the depiction. These are, and I believe Gary said this on Friday Night Tights, said this numerous times, we're having a better discussion. We're having nerd discussion. We're having comic book fan discussions about this movie. We're not having ideological discussions. Is it for the modern audience? Is it quote unquote woke? Was there checkbox hiring and writing and all this other? Those are not happening. We're arguing over the depiction of characters, something that's been happening at comic book shops, gaming stores, weekends with your friends, D&D game nights since we discovered this entertainment. And that makes me very happy. You don't have to agree with my opinion, but hey, let's have context in what we're talking about. Martha calls Pa Kent mush. Yes, he's a little mushy sometimes because he's worried about Clark's well-being. I don't know about the random gay man of the Daily Planet cries. Some dude freaks out because he thinks they're all going to die. Oh, no. All the other guys at the Daily Planet, pretty spot on. What is it? Perry, right? He's, go watch the movie. I can recommend this. Needs to be saved constantly. No. Not constantly. Anyway, that's all I've got. Let me know, and I do hope, and I'm sure y'all will, let me know what you think in the comments section down below. Leave a like, leave a dislike, do all those nifty little things that YouTube is making you do, and I do hope to see you in the next one. Bye-bye.